Here's every Dragon Ball Z movie reviewed, part 1, let's go. Dragon Ball Z Dead Zone, a really okay film that borrows a lot of elements from the Saiyan saga. Garlic Jr. is kinda whatever as a villain, but I really do enjoy the fight between him, Goku, and Piccolo. I really love the backgrounds in this movie. They're all orange and vibrant, and things we really don't get often in the main show. Dragon Ball Z, The World's Strongest, a really solid film. I think the choreography in this one is some of the best of the early Z movies for sure. A Tree of Might, I think it has some really strong highs, but some pretty low lows. I enjoy Turles as a villain, and I think having the side characters be more involved in the main plot is always good. It has a very strange environmental message, which I feel like is very out of place in Dragon Ball, a show that actively destroys the environment. Lord Slug, honestly a really forgettable movie. I think Lord Slug is just another generic evil villain person. He's like King Piccolo, except not as menacing at all. I like the fact that he goes giant, because that's a technique that no other Namekian really tries to do ever again until Superhero. He ends up being defeated by Gohan's whistling.
Here's the deal. Sure, fuck it.
And Goku packs him up with the Spirit Bomb just like he did Turles. Okay. Cooler's Revenge. I think Cooler is a really awesome villain, and his squadron are really entertaining. I have no idea why Salza has a French accent in the dub, but I'm glad he does because it's really fitting. The only issue I have with the movie is how this man Goku heals a dead bird with his life energy or whatever, and it's really stupid, and it puts Goku that much more above everyone else, which is a trend these movies are going to keep following for a while. The Return of Cooler is a pretty okay movie overall. It's the first Dragon Ball Z film to not take place on Earth, and it's the first to include Vegeta as a character, so that's always a plus. It has a really iconic shot where it shows Goku and Vegeta staring down an army of Metacoolers, and that has to be one of the most raw shots in Dragon Ball history. Super Android 13 was kinda just whatever. You can really tell these Dragon Ball movies were running out of ideas at this point because they had to have 2 out every year. So Super Android 13 is an okay villain that's pretty much just Cell again, except he sounds like Rick Grimes, so that's another thing.
Stop acting like you know the way ahead, like you know the rules. There are no rules, man. We're lost.
No, seriously, he needs components from the other androids in order to achieve a new form, like that's Cell's whole memo. Broly, the legendary Super Saiyan, is a lot better than what people give it credit for. I really enjoy how in this movie, Broly feels like a rampaging, unstoppable monster, and not just a mentally ill 40-year-old man. I like how it takes the combined efforts from all the Z fighters in order to beat him, because every single person got involved, even fucking Piccolo and Gohan, which was great. The Broly that's shown off in this movie in particular is a great example of how you don't need a deep, complex villain to have an entertaining villain. He works perfectly fine for the story this movie is trying to tell, and hell, it worked because he was popular enough to get 3 more movies. So, do I prefer this Broly over the new one? Well, you'll just have to wait and see. Bojack Unbound. It's Gohan's first movie as the main character, and it doesn't make a lick of sense. How does Bojack have knowledge about Goku when he hasn't seen or met him? He's a cool-looking space pirate person, but that is as far as his character goes. He has nothing really interesting going for him except for, I guess, his transformation or whatever. So the same goes for his allies. I can't tell you who any of these guys are besides Zonga, and that's because she was in the games. If you guys can name me from memory the name of his other henchmen, I will make sure Elon Musk gives each of you a Tesla. How? Don't worry about all that. Now, I do have some positives about this movie. I think this movie has Trunks' best outfit ever. This should be in more of the games. Hopefully it's in Sparking Zero, who knows. And I like the speech that Gohan has about him being Goku's son. I think that shit is raw. Yeah, that's about all I got. Broly's Second Coming. I think this is a really fun movie. It doesn't really make sense how Broly comes back from being blown up in the first Broly movie, but, you know, it's Dragon Ball. I really enjoy the usage of characters we see here. We see Goten and Trunks doing stuff, we see Videl helping them, and it's all really great, and a nice change of pace and a breath of fresh air from the other stuff we've seen in the other Z movies. I don't really buy Gohan at this point having that much trouble with Broly, especially since, like, he should be much stronger, even without training. But, you know, it's whatever. Bio Broly is as good for you as high cholesterol. Seeing Android 18 and Krillin here was nice, but that's about as far as my compliments for it go. I think I'll always skip this movie in my rewatches. Fusion Reborn, one of my favorite Dragon Ball movies, and I think it has some of the best art and animation out of any of these. The introduction of Gogeta is raw, and Janemba is just Majin Buu if he took Ozempic. Wrath of the Dragon. Everything with Tapion is really cool and interesting. Everything else, kinda mid. Don't remember a bunch about this movie, kinda forgettable. I do really like the shot of everyone transforming, that was hard. Battle of Gods, it's a very special movie. It was the first time we got new Dragon Ball content in years, and it changed the entire landscape of Dragon Ball as a series going forward. In terms of the English dub, I think this is my favorite performance from Sean Schemmel as Goku. He comes off as a lot more natural feeling, and that's to be expected after playing the character for as long as he has. Even the script for this movie was really good, and I haven't made that comment about any of these other movies so far. Resurrection F is how I found out that even the people behind Dragon Ball don't like Vegeta. It really sucks how Vegeta's moment with Frieza is very much undercut by Goku once again coming in and just killing Frieza. Then this movie has the nerve to have one of the most lackluster introductions for a new transformation I've ever seen from Dragon Ball. Super Saiyan Blue, or in this case Super Saiyan God Super Saiyan, never really seemed like this big evolution of power like Super Saiyan God did. It seems like here the priority was to have a new transformation for more toy sales and for the video games. And, well, it worked. I bought them, but that's besides the point. Dragon Ball Super Broly is a good movie with some very strong visuals and even better soundtrack to match. To many people, it's considered the best Dragon Ball movie, and I don't agree. The main issue that I always come back to with this film is the pacing. As visually astonishing and impressive the fight with Broly is, the story just kinda stops completely for this giant, damn near hour-long fight scene. And some people might like that, but upon rewatching, it just kinda gets old to me. Stuff like that works for a 22-minute episode of a show, but not for a 100-minute movie in my opinion. And yeah, I get it, who goes to Dragon Ball for the story? Well, I do. Despite what your favorite anime YouTuber says, Dragon Ball has told great stories before. That being said, Dragon Ball Super Broly is still a really fun time. Dragon Ball Super Superhero is my favorite Dragon Ball movie. It contains everything that I love and appreciate about the series, both high-intensity fights and some really strong character writing. It's a whole different kind of Dragon Ball movie in the sense of it not starring Goku nor Vegeta, and plus the fact that it was animated in 3D. In a way, this movie was the underdog. It barely had any promotion from Toei, and the fact that once it was announced that it was going to be 3D, tons of fans just started hating it. I understand people wanted more content animated by Shin Itami, but I'm happy that we got this instead. Dragon Ball has been around for 40 years, and every so often it's fine if it does something different to try and reinvent itself. If we got the same kind of Dragon Ball content over and over again, then the series would just grow stale. I'm glad that Dragon Ball continues to try new things after all these years, and that's how it keeps surviving decades longer.